Hey, wait, how does it? I always forget. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I got it. Hey, 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 hey. We're back. We're black. We're extra black today. We're brown. Ambition, 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 ambition. I'm so excited today because we got some extra blackness in the stew. You know, I like to say the stew because it makes me feel young. Um, and so we cannot wait to introduce you to our guest today, but I'm going to let Mandra take over. First of all, Mandy, how are you, girl? Because your curls are popping.
Are they? Oh, thank you. You know, I had to get it together. I just woke up from a nap 20 minutes ago. I'm not even going to try to front. Mr. Cherry, I am very pregnant and I take a lot of naps now. But
there you go.
I'm so excited to have you with us today. BA fam, this is an opportunity that we have been waiting for a while. Not going to lie. As soon as we started partnering with Dove back in February, and I saw that this gentleman was a part of the Dove hair care influencer hair care partnership group, I was like, ooh, can we get Matthew Cherry on the podcast? I mean, like, what's he up to? What's his contract say? Does he need to do like some podcast episodes? I am so excited to have Matthew here. So if y'all are not familiar with Matthew Cherry, let me remind y'all, this man used to be an NFL player. Don't ask me what position. I'm sure it was very impressive. But for several years, you were in the NFL and then pivoted into Hollywood, right? So a little like Kobe Bryant flavor here. Pivoted into Hollywood, worked as a production assistant. So brought him all the way back. That's basically like being an intern, right? I mean, you really like paid your dues in the early days, right? And then less than a decade later was on stage at the Oscars accepting an award for his beautiful, beautiful film called Hair Love, which if you haven't seen it, haven't got the book, don't follow him on Insta, been living under a hole, you have to check it out. It is so sweet. It really pictures a father and his daughter experiencing what it's like to embrace her hair texture and to make her feel beautiful. And it was just lovely. But since then, Matthew has been on a tear. I mean, you've directed so many episodes of my favorite shows on TV. I'm playing it cool. Abbott Elementary, Blackish, The Wonder Years, plus the reboot of Bel-Air, Saved by the Bell, and more. You have been an an executive producer for the film Black Klansman with Spike Lee. And you've also worked as an executive at Jordan Peele's production company, Monkey Paw Productions. So we are so excited to have you on the show, Matthew Cherry. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. Excited to talk to you.
Wow.
So I want to start with your career pivot.
Sorry. Real quick, I just wanted to say, like, everything he's done has been super black, which I love. I'm like, damn, we thought we were black over here. Everything is black, then blacker than black, black, blacker than black, black, black. So go ahead, Mandy.
No, I skipped the part where he directed Michelle Williams, one of her first music videos, right?
Girl.
When she went solo? It was a little later on, but yeah, I did say yes for her being Kelly.
Yes, and you've worked with Jasmine Sullivan, Chloe and Halle, Layla Hathaway.
Yeah,
so
a little bit of everything.
Not bad. But the career pivot from the NFL into entertainment, was that planned? Did you know you wanted to be a filmmaker?
Yeah, it's interesting, like growing up, having the dream of trying to play professional sports. Like a lot of times you'll meet a lot of guys who that's all they have. When you ask them what they want to do, I only have a plan A. I want to make it to the league. And for me, I don't know, I always had other interests. I was always into entertainment. I'm from Chicago, so, the Midwest, at least back in the day, didn't have like this thriving film industry that it kind of has now. Like a lot of cities now have it, like Atlanta and North Carolina, et cetera. And I don't know, I just didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but I knew I had interest in it. I was a part of like the radio club in high school. I majored in radio, TV broadcasts, and media production. I interned at a lot of radio stations when I was in college. So ENZ, ZAK in Cleveland. And so I don't know, I thought it was going to be a little bit more on the music side or the radio side. But then, was lucky enough to make it to the league as an undrafted free agent and just kind of bounced around a lot. And I knew really early on in my rookie year, like, all right, this may not work out for me in the same way that it works out for a lot of people because, it's less about ability. A lot of it is just like kind of right place, right time. Some of it is politics. And, a lot of guys have incredible ability, but for whatever reason, they end up on the wrong team and don't have like the ball rolling their court or whatever. So, I didn't want to be one of those guys that was like 10 years and I'm like playing in, some overseas league and, just making like minimum wage, basically still get knocked upside the head. And I gave myself like a 3-year plan. I was like, if I can't like officially make it within this 3 years, I'm going to just retire early and I'm going to go to either LA or New York and try to figure out this entertainment thing. And I was lucky to meet this woman who was a part of this nonprofit organization called Streetlights. And so Streetlights, their website is streetlights.org, and they're a nonprofit that help men and women of color get jobs as production assistants, mostly in commercials and music videos. Now it's kind of expanded to a lot of other things. And that was just like my ticket. I'd never been to LA before. I didn't know anybody there. So I applied and, thankfully got in. And, like anything in this business, like, you do a good job on one job and then, they'll go off to do other things. And sometimes they'll bring you along. Sometimes they won't. But, one became two. And I was lucky enough. My first show I PA'd on was Girlfriends with Mara Brock Akil on their 8th season. And, just seeing like Debbie Allen, seeing Mara Brock Akil, I was Prentice Penny, who, was the showrunner for Insecure, was there. Kenya Barris, was there as the junior level writer. Lena Waithe, me and Lena Waithe were like, she was a writer's assistant. I was a PA. So it's just like one of those crazy things where just a lot of people kind of were in the same place at the same time because there were so few black shows at the time. Mm-hmm. And, went from there and was able to like really see who is doing what and what jobs seemed like they were appealing. And, I saw, Debbie Allen sitting in the director's chair and I was like, man, want to learn more about that, and just kind of took a little bit more of an interest in it and, was able to kind of pivot and do some music videos and some short films. And, here I am today.
Wow. I feel like there needs to be a documentary on that final season of Girlfriends and everyone behind the scenes, because it feels like that's incredible.
It's pretty crazy. Karen Gist, who was a showrunner of Star. I mean, it's like literally like half the industry came off of Girlfriends, like for real.
Wow. That's incredible. Like financially, how were you doing at that time? Because you're PAing, you come from the NFL, you're in LA, like you're around all these successful people. Was it hard? Were you feeling like, damn, I'm kind of struggling, but I got to look like I'm making it?
That was like low key the story of my life, like being in these jobs where like everybody else was making crazy money and I wasn't. So it's like being adjacent to the flyness, but not really being able to get it for myself. So like my rookie year in the league, I was on the practice squad, and after taxes, it was like $35,000. It was like an $80,000 base salary, but they tax you at the highest rate, and you got agent fees, et cetera. And it was kind of similar money being a PA. But, it's like back then, it's like, you're just trying to make it. So, maybe you have a roommate, your car is, kind of janky. So, you just kind of doing what you need to do to survive. But yeah, PAs really didn't make a lot of money. I think today they still kind of don't. Like, I know if you do a commercial back then, at least, it's like $200 a day. But, there are ways that you could kind of stretch it out. Like if you drove the production truck and you were able to like pick up the equipment, that gives you an extra day and then you have to return it. So, there are like little creative ways you can kind of hustle around it. But TV was always kind of the most consistent, just because like the commercial world, you had to like, it was just a consistent hustle. Some months you may work 15 days, another month you may only work 3. So it was like very hustle driven, and I didn't really like that side of things. So I tried to get on the TV side, and it was great. Like Girlfriends, you may get on in like August and the show will go till like March or April. And, so it's like a pretty consistent gig.
We need to share that link with anyone who's interested. Streetlight, you said streetlights.
Yeah, streetlights.org. Yep.
I love that you went through a nonprofit and it wasn't like, yeah, I just met someone on the bench and, he was a Hollywood producer.
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah, some people have that story. I've always like taken the back door in a lot of ways, I feel like.
So, well, then, go ahead, Tiff.
I feel like we're going to be like, tag, no, you didn't. So, the question Mandy asked about how it was financially then is really poignant for me, because I remember being broke and then not being broke, but having a hard time reconciling that I wasn't broke anymore.
Yeah. Like,
did you have that transition? How did that feel when you actually started to make money? Do you feel like financially secure now? Or are you still kind of like, because I'm still suffering from what I call post-traumatic broke syndrome. Like at any day, the people gonna come and get my things, like have you suffered from that? And if so, how did you move past it? Or, how are you managing that now?
Yeah, no, for me, really directing television has been like the biggest blessing. And it's just ironic because I started as a PA, watching directors kind of do it. And that has really been, I think, the main thing for me that has kind of allowed me to feel financially secure. I think for me, being around it so much, be that being a PA and, bringing Tracy Ellis Ross from her trailer, to the set or, and like having to park their car or things like that. I've always been around it, even in the league, like, man, you pull in that parking lot is pretty crazy. So, and I got like the worst car there. So, I've always been around it. And so, I've always like felt like, okay, when this happens, I think I know how I'm going to move. So I don't necessarily think I had that same syndrome that you spoke of. But, it is a transition. It's just like, taxes is the biggest thing, like, in what I do, a lot of times you just get paid whatever the rate is, you just get paid that straight up and they don't take taxes out. So, you work X amount of jobs at the end of the year, you may end up with like this huge tax bill. So you have to be like very smart and strategic about like, all right, I'm going to pay my stuff every quarterly just so that, at the end of the year, you're not hit with like this 6-figure kind of tax thing or whatever. So it's like been things like that you have to kind of be mindful of, getting your LLC set up and, making sure you have like the right write-offs. Just things like that has been kind of new in that way. And, you go through your growing pains with it and kind of figure out what works best for you. But, it's just like, and the cool thing, like with both the league and with film is like, you have all these creative write-offs, like I know some of them kind of went away when some tax codes changed recently, but like, being an NFL player, you could buy a TV and buy a big entertainment system and be like, look, I need this to watch film. And that could be a big write-off. With film, you go to the movies, that's a write-off. So it's, you can get creative with it, but you also have to be really smart because like anything, there are like high periods and there are low periods. Like when I first moved to LA, girlfriends went down because of the first writer strike that I was a part of. So, you got to be just really lean and creative with it to try to get through these rough months. Cause I do think it's probably going to be down for at least 3 or 4 months. And, not a lot of people are going to be working.
So you went from, yes, Miss Ellis Ross, can I please get you some coffee? To then, Miss Ellis Ross, can you do another take for me? Because you then directed her in Blackish.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Man, it was really cool. Like, I've been a big fan of Tracy. Like, I remember her being on the Lyricist Lounge show back in the day.
Not Lyricist Lounge.
Yeah, come on now. You remember? She's just been talented all her life. And, it was a really surreal moment for real. Like, and there were a few people like Kenya, literally, like I mentioned, he was a writer on Girlfriends, back in the day too. So to kind of have the paths cross kind of in that way was really awesome. And, she's really gracious and always has been, and just a really great person. So yeah, it was smooth.
And did that come from and first of all, like Hair Love, I want to talk about that because such a beautiful short, but you raised money for that. Like you had to raise what, $300,000?
Yeah. So
to get that made?
Yeah. So that wasn't necessarily our like initial goal. So I'll share my philosophy with Kickstarter. So with raising money online, like, I think the first thing is like, you have to have a decent social media following if you're trying to raise like a significant amount of money, right? Like that was my third Kickstarter. So I'd done like a Kickstarter for my first movie the last fall. I did another one for my second movie, 9 Rides. And they both were like a bit of a struggle to raise $15,000. Like it was literally reaching out to people from Facebook that I maybe talked to in like 20 years from high school and things. Hey, check out this link. I'm a filmmaker now. See if you can throw 20 on it. And it was just like literally every person that donated to those first two, I feel like I knew them directly. And it was because I, personally reached out to them was the reason why we barely hit that goal. But for this one, it was, I know it was going to be animated. I knew we were going to need a bigger budget just because I didn't really know how things were going to play out. And so I think we set the budget at like $75,000 initially, with the hope, though, that we would raise more just because with Kickstarter, if you don't hit your number, then you don't get anything. But you can raise more than your initial goal. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, there's some there's some like Indiegogo and, Seed and Spark where, you kind of get what you raise. But, it kind of incentivizes you. Honestly, I actually prefer it that way because, you can't really slack with it. If you know that you're just going to raise what you get, you may not post about it as urgently as you may, knowing that, all right, it's now or nothing, And so, yeah, it was just like this big hustle. And a lot of it was just kind of like growing the brand on social media, even like before the Kickstarter went, just being more than just hopping on when you have a project to promote, sharing your day, sharing advice, just kind of being yourself. And obviously not, social media isn't for everybody. And I think Twitter has taken a bit of a darker turn kind of in recent years. But, back in the day, it was fun and you could be yourself and it wouldn't be a lot of drama or a lot of smoke and you could just do it. And, I was able to raise my following up to way bigger than I had in the first couple Kickstarter campaigns. So I had a bigger support level. I think with the project, there were a couple things that just were like, sometimes you can't even predict what's going to happen. So Vashti Harrison, she did the artwork for us. And I caught her maybe 6 months before her first book came out, Little Leaders.
She blew up.
Yeah, she blew up. She blew up. Like you can't even like get on her schedule now because she's like so crazy. But I literally caught her before she came out. And apparently our book publisher was a big fans of her. I didn't even know this back in the day. So when we ended up doing the artwork and things, that's how Penguin Random House reached out because they were like, oh, you guys doing a picture book for this? Like we would let it collab. So that was one thing. Another couple of things that happened is just that, Dove reached out. And that was really cool just because, I think for us, it was a matter of like you share the story, what you want to do. You kind of do a personal video. And I think the artwork, I think the storyline about us wanting to do the story about a Black father trying to do their daughter's hair for the first time, it just really resonated. Yeah. And so really beyond any of the first two Kickstarter campaigns, majority of the people that donated to this, I didn't even know personally. Like I didn't even slide a link to them directly. It just kind of went viral on its own. And I think, you just can't predict those things, like sometimes you're just in the right place, right time. And I think that was one of them. And I think also the state of animation at that time was really important for the success of this too, because back then there was no Spider-Verse, there was no, Moana, there was no, Encanto, like black and brown characters were damn near non-existent in animated movies. It was, Princess and the Frog, it was Rihanna's movie Home. It was Bebe's Kids, and then I think Prince of Egypt. Yeah, it was like Prince of Egypt. It was literally like
Bebe's Kids is like 25 years before.
Right.
You gotta think all the way back for that.
But iconic. Yeah. Iconic.
No, for sure. So there was just like a bit of a starving, I think, for our community to kind of see themselves in this animated form. And I think
also
for us
2020 when I know it didn't come out in 2020.
So the Kickstarter was 2017.
Yeah, this is like a 4 or 5 year journy for you guys. No, 3. I'm bad at math.
Yeah.
That's bad. And then the Oscars happened in 2020, right? Yeah, till now. Yep. That really resonates with me because I feel like the beauty of your story is just like, you do the work. You don't wait for the people with opportunity, like people with power to tap you on the shoulder like, oh, Matthew, we heard about you. Like, this is incredible. You do the work, you put it out there. And you don't wait, and then
I think that's just. Yeah, I think that's how you got to be in this game. Like there's so many reasons why people will tell you no, and like if you can prove the idea, then it just makes it that much easier for Yes. I always share the story. Like I don't know if it's real or not, but it's attributed to Chris Rock. And it's a story about, I guess, back when he was a broke comedian, his car would break down all the time and he'd be on the side of the road trying to like with his thumb out, trying to get somebody to like pick him up so he can like take it to the shop or whatever. And nobody would stop when he had his thumb out. But when he would get behind his car and he'd actually like start pushing it to try to get it to his destination, that's when people would pull over to try to help him. And I just always attribute it to like, people want to help people that they see are helping themselves.
Yes.
And, I think that's just how you got to, in this new day and age of streaming and 1,000 reasons why somebody will tell you no, like you have to put yourself in a position to help yourself so that people can hop in and help you get it over the line.
Yeah, no, and I have to say your Kickstarter really inspired me because I used to teach preschool for 10 years and I struggled to find books with like, and I taught in Newark, which is like, blackity black. And I struggled to find books with black babies on them. And so,
that was another thing.
So I teach financial education, but I wrote a book called Happy Birthday, Molly Moore. And I was like, she's going to be black. She's going to have like 4CCCC hair, and I did a Kickstarter. I think I wanted to raise 35,000. We raised 70. But
Oh,
I
that's
just remember being
amazing.
thank you, so inspired by, because I remember going to Target and being like, there's one book, Hair Love.
Yeah.
And now when you go to Target, I'm like, do
Yeah,
they
it's
make books?
crazy.
Literally,
It's like
I'm
a whole
like, do they
section.
make books? Not even the whole of Target. Everybody is POC. And I love that.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
crazy.
the question really for me is like not just in books, but just as a director in general, how do you feel that Black representation on screen has changed? Because there's just been this shift, it seems, of like Black being pushed forward.
Yeah, I think it's like been a really big shift in a lot of ways. It is and it isn't, right? It's like in front of the camera for show. Like, I think there's been this really big push to, make sure. I think back in the day, it was like, all right, maybe we'll get one character in there that's like the Black friend that like you never see their inner life and never meet the parents or any of that stuff. They just are there to service like the main character who was in the POC. But now you're really seeing this push to really just have diverse casts all around. Multiple Black characters kind of in an ensemble cast. Brown representation. Asian representation. Just you're seeing it really across the board. But with that said, still behind the camera, people would like to think that it's really changed a lot, but it really hasn't. There are always studies that come out, and probably in TV is where it's been the biggest boom for diversity. Just because literally thousands of TV shows, so they kind of have to,
Yeah.
you can't. Back in the day, there were like, maybe a couple hundred. Now there are thousands, so you kind of have to reach the net a little wider. But, in film, it's still very much the same as it's always been. It's really hard for, Black and brown directors to get opportunities. I think I saw a study that UCLA did where they were talking about with streaming, apparently numbers have gotten more diverse because, again, thousands of opportunities, right? Mm. But when it comes to theatrical, the numbers are still very much like 77% white men that are directing most of the movies that go to have theatrical releases. So, there's still a lot of work to be done. And that was one of the cool things about being an executive at Monkey Paw, which is Jordan Peele's company, like being able to be on the other side of things and, trying to, beat the drum for other Black creators to kind of get in there to have their opportunities. But, we need more of us, not only behind the camera, but also in the boardrooms, also at the production companies, because to get a project moved forward, it has to go through so many layers. You have to get it through, some low level exec, then you got to take it to the higher ups, and they got to take it to their board. And then, so to get a project through like 5 different layers of trying to move it forward. And then, you have the super Black project, and now you get to the top and it's like no Black people on this approval board. That's why a lot of movies have a hard time moving forward, just because if they can't see themselves as the hero, they don't want to help move it forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
and the crazy thing is like, we have been conditioned, we Black audiences, we have to see the humanity in other characters, because all our life, it's like, shit, we weren't in Pretty Woman. We weren't in Princess Bride. You know what I mean? Like, we have to kind of find the ways to find the empathy in characters. And I think people are feeling some kind of way because now they're having to find the empathy in our characters and they're not used to it.
I mean, yeah, you think about movies like, to see Ryan Coogler, for example. My husband and I just saw Creed 3. And directed by Michael B. Jordan, starring Michael B. Jordan. I was like, this is with Jonathan Majors. I mean,
he's from Newark. I'm saying Brick City. Okay.
Yeah,
Which one? Man, Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah, he went to like St. Benedict's High School. He's like, cause I live in Newark, so he's born and raised in Newark. Mm-hmm.
And you think about Ryan Coogler getting his start, with Fruitvale, but then also Black Panther. And when Black Panther came out, people were like, is this the moment? It is. If this film did phenomenally well, but then you saw this tapering off. Like, there wasn't this huge, renaissance. And I feel like even the names you still see doing Black film, like Spike Lee's been around forever, but like, are there any, other than yourself, new, exciting Black filmmakers or projects that you're like, this is, this person probably wouldn't have made it 10 years ago, but they're making it now?
Oh yeah, I mean, shit. I mean, damn near everybody. Damn near Ryan included. It's like, it's just thankfully, because people are taking more risk, especially in the independent space. Ryan had to be indie. He did his movie for less than $1 million. Got it into Sundance. A.V. Rockwell, whose movie 1001 just came out, starring Tiana Taylor. She just did the Sundance move as well. It's coming out with it just came out a couple weeks ago through Focus Features. I can list 100 different names of people that are deserving and thankfully have finally gotten their opportunity. But there's also a lot that haven't gotten that opportunity. Back in the day, it really felt like, at least in the 2010s, when I was transitioning from PAing to directing, it always kind of felt like there could only be one Black director per year. So, and if you weren't that one, that was kind of, the crown was put upon your head, like, it was like back to square one. You do a movie and all right, it didn't hit. So now what? And you got to like try to find money or think of another idea to try to get back at it again. So, I think whenever we get into a place where opportunities are just like abundant and, we don't have these kind of dips and these highs and these lows, I think that's really when we're going to see that true parity that's going to happen. But, I think now we're going to see a big bubble bursting in the streaming industry just because like everybody's been this big arms race of people trying to like put money in and they're not really getting their money back. So, I think it's going to become even harder for Black and brown creators to get their voices out there because, the belts are about to get tighter.
And we're probably going to be the first to
for sure. Always
off the schedule.
The plantation.
Hey.
Let's make a pivot. Let's talk about hair. Since me and these curls are popping and our locks are popping. So like we would love to like what's your, because when I went natural, oh my gosh. I remember my mother distinctly said, both of my parents are Nigerian. And the first thing she said to me, I think it was my dad, he said, "So you never plan on marrying?" I'm like, what?
That's
what does that mean? But that's because back then, and it's so crazy because they grew up in a time when I remember my mom had an Afro wig, you know, and then it just became like, natural hair was very unfashionable and it was very unprofessional, and so me going natural was like this political statement. It was just because for me, I didn't like the way the perm made my scalp feel. I wasn't trying to be political. I was just like, why can't I wear a fro? And so, so I'm curious about like, what has your hair journey been like? Like, what was your hair like in middle school? How long have you had locks? Like, what's your journey been like?
Yeah, I've always had my hair pretty low, I guess, like kind of growing up, just being an athlete and honestly, just being honest, not really knowing a lot about the natural hair movement kind of growing up. My mom, she worked in a corporate setting. So she would always have to either straighten her hair or, throw a more quote unquote professional, wig on or something. And, so I don't know. It's also a little different for guys. I feel like, being an athlete, like nobody ever really came at me for like my hair or my hair texture. But, my sister, I always know that she felt like, or maybe she didn't even feel like it though. Honestly, I probably got to talk to her about this back when she was younger, but, she always used to have to wear her hair straightened, because that was kind of what was the norm, I guess, back then. And, I think, and that's also a bit of the reason why for me, we really wanted to do an animated and with a young kid as a protagonist, just because I think a lot of kids' natural hair journey starts, not even natural hair journey, but hair journeys in general start when they're children. And so when you grow up and you watch these cartoons and, you watch these images of kind of who the heroes in these stories and what are the things that I want to be, a lot of times that's like has a big influence. Like I'll never forget when Frozen came out, seeing, little Black girls running around with the blonde straight wigs and things, trying to like be these characters. And it just was like, damn, like really wish there was characters that looked like them that had their type of hair. So they felt like they could be the hero in their own story and not feel like they have to kind of conform to what other people are trying to say that they need to look like. And so, for me, like being an athlete, being in film, I've never been told like, can't wear your hair like that. Hair's unprofessional. You know what I mean? Like both of those industries are very embracing of like being yourself and kind of coming as you are. But I know if I was a lawyer, or if I was a police officer, if I was like, if I was in any other profession that was more quote unquote corporate, for sure, I probably would have had to have some hard conversations. And that's a big reason why too, like I'm so happy that the Crown Act has become a lot more popular and is like passing in more states. still hasn't been passed on a federal level, but very important. And I just think, at the end of the day, you got to just let people be who they want to be. Like, they want to wear their hair straight. They want to wear it short. They don't want to have hair at all. Like, it's all good. And there's no reason why we need to be policing how people's hair grows out of their head. It's like, it's none of your business, really.
I mean, you honestly, like, you've become an icon for Black hair care equality. I feel like ever since doing Hair Love. Was that part of the intention behind the film? I know you're a dad now, right? Were you a dad at the time? Did you think about your daughter?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't?
No,
okay.
I wasn't. I wasn't, but I'm really big on empathy and like seeing a battle that I knew I was going to be fighting, hopefully in the future. You know what I mean? Like the idea that, there's always a story, like kids being kicked out of school because their hair is a certain way, or being told they can't work in a certain place because their hair looks like this. It's just, it was the stupidest thing to me. I think kind of the activism part of it all definitely was like very organic. Like that never was really the intention going in. I think the activism was supposed to be more so just like, look at this little girl who loves herself. She loves her hair. She has 4C hair. Like, she is a character that hopefully little girls can see and want to be like. But things kind of took off in a different way, with this project. So, never has a short film had a book. Won an Oscar, got a TV show about to come, and a hair product. Like, it's just been pretty wild.
I love that. I was going to ask you about that. So you've been a major part of Dove's Hair Love collection, inspired by your film, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, and so I know that there are dads out there who are like, because how old is your daughter?
She turned 6 months tomorrow, actually.
Oh, she's a new baby.
Oh yeah, well, you'll be there.
Well, Mandy has a little boy, but.
I thought I might have heard a little something. Are you at home right now? I thought I might have
I'm
heard
at home.
little,
Yeah, she probably crying in the background.
My mommy ears are just like, somebody get that baby.
So like knowing that what you know now about like, kind of like as you've been like steeped into like the hair care journey, and like you said, how different it was for your daughter, for your sister, like what are you anticipating? Do you have any advice for new dads? It's like, how do I start to instill that your hair is beautiful?
I think the two things of advice I would say is listen, you know what I mean? Like, a big part of our short was this idea of like parents taking the time to not get out of their own head and actually listen to their kids and what they want. So that's a big one. And then also, just the information is out there. If you want to learn how to do hair, there's all kinds of vlogs on YouTube and, websites and groups and all kinds of things that you can be a part of to try to figure it out. I think for me, doing hair is less about just the act itself. It's more about just getting that personal time, with your loved one and kind of showing them how much you care. And I think that's really it's also a really amazing way to bond, I think, with your kid. It's just you two in a room and you got this goal and you're trying to figure it out. I think it's a real awesome way to kind of show how much you love a person. And, it's one of the things where you do it and, other people were able to kind of see that love as they walk through that day, with that hairstyle that you were able to put together. So, definitely, our little one right now, she's probably going to be a late bloomer when it comes to, having a, full head of hair. That's, right now it's a little low, but, I'm looking forward to, when it, starts to sprout like a weed. I'm sure it's coming soon.
Sprout. That's such a dad thing to say.
Sprout. Yeah, I feel like kids today have such an incredible opportunity because with the hair care line at Target and all these stores that I go to for my son, I'm like, pick a flavor, any flavor. It's so many options. I feel like in our childhood, at least for me, we talked about this before, but it was not exactly an experience where I felt my mother's love. It was more like, is my mom going to put me up for adoption? My mom's white. Like, is she going to send me back after this? Because she really doesn't seem to like this. But no, it's incredible. And even just the like your acknowledgement, like your understanding that this will be something that I'm going to, intentionally think of in a positive way is already, I feel like, such a great example for dads, or for any man who's caring for a little girl, with natural hair. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and I think it's like this idea that I think back in 2017, 2020, when the project was a little newer, like, the idea of a dad doing the daughter's hair was this kind of newer idea. And like, obviously people have done it, back in the day, but, trying to bring it to a bigger audience of things. Dads always get credit and pats on the back for doing the most basic things.
Oh my God,
and I think for us, it's
that.
like, no, I mean, it's like
It's true.
you're a dad, be a parent, and I think the normalizing of, fathers doing this and it not being some anomaly that, we need to make this big fuss about. It's like, all right, like my wife's at work early and I'm here. So I'm gonna do the hair. Like it's not some big thing that needs to be this big deal or anything. So I think also just the normalizing of it was really important too. So that, the pats aren't so big when it happens.
If you want to go viral, Matthew, just post a video of you brushing your daughter's little fuzz. It'll go viral.
It's
You
true.
will be. You'll win awards.
I love the dads that babysit their own children. I'm like, oh, you're
Yeah.
Oh,
babysit.
there you go. There you go.
Like, oh, okay. Do you need money for that as well? Like,
Hey.
I wanted
That's
to
funny.
ask you, because you are busy doing a bunch of different projects, I'm sure. How has that transition been, figuring out the schedule with a newborn at home?
Oh yeah, that's crazy. Tired all the time. But it's great though. It's just it's something that has to be figured out. We were lucky enough to be able to get a little nanny situation, so that kind of helps us because my wife has to go into work, and a lot of times I have to try to like work either from home or have to go somewhere on set somewhere to be working too. So to kind of have somebody who can be holding it down and to kind of like know what we want them to do has been like super, super important. Had we not been in this position and living in LA where we don't have family, probably would live back in Chicago or on the East Coast somewhere. So we would have had family close by to be able to do a similar thing.
no, that's awesome. Just final question for me. Like, what is your hair care routine? You have locks now.
Nah,
Yes. And so like, what do you do to maintain them, keep them healthy?
listen, I don't have much of a routine at all. Just I'm in like filmmaker mode. So I just wake up. I got my little lock sock that I put on to kind of protect it at night, or you get the silk pillowcase, and I just go through the day just doing my thing. And every 3 or 4 weeks I get up with my hairstylist who'll retwist me. But yeah, I don't have like this big routine. Especially now that like I don't really have a lot going on. I'm just at home. So, obviously when it was like you hitting up award shows and things, you're way on it a lot more. But yeah, I'm always been pretty low key with things. So yeah, it's not this big thing.
Yeah, that's what I love about locks, because people are always like, oh my gosh. I'm like, honestly, I don't do anything. Like when I had a fro, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
There was so much work. I don't know how you do it, Mandy, like with your hair, because just the level of product and you can't just leave the
Yeah.
house when you have a fro. The pick, pat, that used to destroy my life. Now I'm just like, I literally woke up like this. I was like, oh, this is my sleeping bun. It still
There
looks
you
cute. So here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. We should get paid for our time, for the additional hair time. I wanted to know,
That's funny.
Matthew, what are you working on now? What should people know about you? What do you have coming up next? Is this an annoying
Yes.
question as a filmmaker?
Oh no, not at all. No, we turned Hair Love into a TV series. So we've been working on it
I'm so
for
excited.
almost 3 years now. So it's going to be coming out this fall on HBO Max.
Yes.
The new name of it is Young Love, so not Hair Love, because we had this really creative way of thinking about it. So the dad, his name is Stephen Love, and the mom, her name is Angela Young. So you put it together, Young Love.
I love
So it's really fun, and it's kind of a show that one thing I noticed about animated series were that a lot of times you never really saw it from the millennial perspective. So like a lot of times the parents were already established. They're like in their career, they're making money. Like, money was never an issue, and their dream was already quote unquote fulfilled. Right. For us, we wanted to do this show where it's kind of like you have this young unmarried couple who has a young child, but they still love each other. They're figuring things out. They live with her grandparent. They live with her parents, so Zuri's grandparents, and they haven't really achieved their career dreams or goals yet. So they're still trying to figure that out. They're still trying to raise this young daughter, and it's set on the west side of Chicago. So it's like very, very Black neighborhood and environment, and obviously there are a lot of challenges that have come with it. Angela's a hairstylist, Stephen is a producer, and it's and Zuri is just her same like confident, energetic self, and hilarity ensues. So really excited about it, and that'll be coming out this fall. So yeah, that's kind of the big one.
Who voices Zuri?
Man, we haven't announced everybody yet, but it's
You
this
haven't?
young.
That's okay. That's okay.
No.
I haven't heard a lot about this yet. I want to know.
Yeah. We
Break some
haven't
news for us,
announced
Mike
our
Sherry.
we haven't announced our cast yet, but she's this young girl who just kind of represents Zuri in real life too.
Will we be hearing any voices who were at that girlfriend set back in 2007-8? Will there be any familiar voices in the show?
You know,
Put it that way.
a couple, but yeah, that's all I can say.
Mandy's trying to journalism you out of that.
I know.
I was gonna say, you study radio, I study print, baby.
There we go.
So I'm assuming this is an adult show, or this is like family, or
It's family. It's family.
Okay.
Like, I would say like Blackish without the money is like a good comp.
Getting
Ooh, I love
family
that.
vibes with the intergenerational.
Yeah, very
situation.
very intergenerational, and I can't even say they're middle class. Like they don't have a class. They're trying to figure out their financial situation to even get to a class. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
And
Well, thank
Chicago
you,
will be a
Matthew.
character too. You'll get to
Oh,
see
yeah.
like, because sometimes
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
get to know where that they just live in like Kidville. You don't
General,
really get to
yeah.
know that.
No. Chicago is very much a character too, and kind of like what we wanted to do with young Black representation in animation. Like Chicago gets a horrible rap in mainstream media, and just like wanted to showcase just like that a Midwestern city where you kind of are able to actually see the people that live there, as opposed to like the headlines and the spicy takes that people try to put out there to prove their own agenda. So
yeah.
it's gonna be
You
fun.
get to bring it home
Yeah.
to your home city,
love it.
right?
Oh
Chicago.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, Matthew Cherry, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your story and joining Brown Ambition, and just for
Thank you.
personifying Brown Ambition
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
appreciate
Where
y'all.
can the people find you if they want to follow you and just keep up?
Yeah, just on social. Matthew A. Cherry is kind of my handle on everything, and I'm around. Just hit me up.
And as a big sister to a little brother who is working full time and raising money for films in Atlanta right now, I just want to say he's geeked that I'm getting to talk to you.
Oh, nice. Tell him I said hey.
I will. No, but I feel like your story is so inspirational to anyone who's like, oh, maybe I can do this thing.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like everybody has a story. Just got to get it out of you.
Well, we're happy that you
Awesome.
came. BA fam, make sure you follow Matthew A. Cherry on all the socials, and make sure you support Young Love, because we just love having
your-
Brown Ambition folks on here. So thank you.
Get your
Thank you.
HBO Max logins in shape before this fall.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Find out who you can borrow from.
No doubt.
And
Yeah,
support the
we
show.
will hope to have more information out about it soon, like the release date and trailers and all that.
Ooh, I can't wait to see the trailers. Okay. Awesome.
All right. Until
All right,
next
y'all.
week, guys. Thank you, Brown Ambition family.
I appreciate y'all.
Hey, BA fam. We're on YouTube. Woohoo! Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
And while you're at it, why don't you go over to that little bell icon and just tap that for us. Show the BA fam how much you love us. And that way you'll also get notifications when new videos drop. Also, share the channel with a friend. We're always like, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And thank y'all so much again for all the support.